guys, Automated Garage back today. We're here with this real nice 04 F350 King Ranch dually 6.0 here that has been in several of our videos in the past, doing a blue spring mod, putting a lift on it, rear wheel sealed, whole bunch of stuff. We got Gary in the truck here. So the customer called me when we had an extremely cold spell here in Tennessee. It went down to -1 that night. He drove the truck for the first time, I believe it was the following day or maybe 2 days later. But not only did we go into -1, but we stayed down below freezing for, what was that, Gary, like 3 days?
Yeah.
I think the high was like 17 the next day or something. So he called me, he said, hey, my truck's running like crap. And he was one of about 10 customers that called me during this spell. And you have to remember, we're here in Tennessee where it gets cool, but doesn't get that cold usually. So he had his fuel gel. Said, you need to change your fuel filters ASAP if it gelled. I said, because that paraffin will start separating in the diesel and start stopping stuff up. So he brought it to me after that because it just started running like total crap. But I wanted to first off see why he's losing injectors here on this truck. So we got our fuel pressure gauge hooked up here, and I'm going to show you what the fuel pressure is reading. Keep in mind, this truck wouldn't even hardly pull itself in the shop here. Because like I said, it's down 2 or 3 injectors, I don't remember. But let me show you what the fuel pressure is doing. And Gary, all he can really do is put it in gear and brake torque it slightly, which it doesn't hardly do anything because it's so down on power. But we'll show you what the fuel pressure is doing. And keep in mind, it would drop even more if you were driving down the road, putting under a load. So you have to forgive me, I got brake cleaner on my fuel pressure gauge here, but you can see that's 40 and 50 right up there. All right, turn the key on, Gary. So it does shoot up, but you can see it starts bouncing around. And keep in mind, 45 pounds is what Ford says is acceptable. So we're already below 45 without the truck running and it's not under a load. Crank it up, Gary. Put it in gear. Brake torque it. All right, turn it off. Doesn't really look bad. Can't really tell.
Well, it's done on gel now.
Well, no, the paraffin stays separated once it separates. But I feel like I need a screwdriver or something. So we got our filter out. The filter was not this dirty. My hands are dirty getting it dirty. But let me find something where you can see it really good. Where'd it go? But if you look in these pleats here, there's little white spots on here, which is from the paraffin in the diesel. Like there's some right down in there, see? It's waxy looking. You kind of scrape it and it comes off on the screwdriver here just a little bit. So we don't have winter blend diesel down here in the South because this is usually not a problem like y'all do up north. I'm not used to dealing with this problem myself either. So I don't know what it looks like down there on the HFCM on the frame rail. But I'm willing to bet that one's probably worse because that's the first one that's actually exposed to the cold. There's a nice white spot down in there. Is it showing up? Yeah. But it's all down here in the pleats. So I think that's part of our problem there. The pump doesn't sound healthy either. I don't know if y'all heard that on the camera, but it was kind of, the way it was sounding, it was going, it almost sounded like when you're sucking air, that's what it sounded like. So. All right, guys, so we saw that our pressure at the best was 42 pounds, and that's with the truck not under a load, not driving down the road, so you know that pressure is dropping more than that. This truck has a blue spring mod that I've done in the past, so we know that we have our regulator fixed where we should be having great pressure. So whether it's the filters or not, I called the customer and said, hey, the filters look like they have little chunks of paraffin and stuff all in them. I feel like that's what caused this problem initially. This truck has 292 on the dash, I believe. He bought it at around 200,000 miles. We don't know if this HFCM, the fuel conditioner, had ever been replaced on this truck or not. So I told him, I was like, well, I'm gonna put new filters in it, and we're gonna recheck the fuel pressure and see if that fixes the problem on that, because I don't want to ruin new fuel injectors not having the correct pressure. And I love customers like John. I'm not afraid to say his name. He wouldn't care with this truck, because he's one of them people. It's like, hey, let's just do it right. Let's go on and do it. He said, go on and buy the pump. I said, are you sure? I said, I don't mind checking it and double checking the pressure and seeing if we're good. He goes, no, we're putting new injectors in it. Let's go on and do a new pump, which I wholeheartedly agree with. But so often people do not want to put the money into these trucks that they need for stuff to be right when it's done. And then you hear all the people griping and bickering about 6.0 this and 6.0 that. Well, there's certain things need to be replaced and certain things need to be maintained a certain way. So we're going to have new filters. We're going to have a new pump. We're going to have 8 new injectors and a fresh oil change on this thing when we're done. And it's going to run like a top, just like it has before. This truck is not studded. It is EGR deleted. It's not studded though. He pulls a boat and maintains this truck meticulously, which is why I enjoy taking care of it too, because it's not been messed with anybody but me over the course of the last probably 5 years. So everything's been done right on it, and I know what has been and has not been done on it. So we'll be right after this. This truck isn't tuned. It gives him no problem. So this is one of those things too. I tell people, hey, look, you do everything right on these trucks and maintain them. And if they're not studded, that's fine. They run great. It's when you sit here and you tune them and you rawhide them that you need the studs done then at that point. So we're gonna have this thing back up and going. I'm gonna put y'all on time lapse. I may show y'all some highlights of doing injectors on this truck. I'm gonna tear into it, get over to Ford tomorrow, pick up the pump, pick up the injectors. We'll get this thing back going. So y'all stick on with us on the time lapse, and we'll pick up later when we get done pulling some injectors out. Hi, Gary. What are you doing?
Lubing some stuff up.
What are you lubing up?
Some new injectors.
What else you lubing up?
Some stand pipes and dummy plugs.
Why do we lube them up?
So they won't leak.
So they don't tear the O-ring when we put them together.
Yeah, that's it.
Especially on these stand pipes and dummy plugs, more so the stand pipes. You want to make sure you lube these up, because the last thing you want to do is nick or barely cut one of these rings, and then It'll probably run, probably won't tear right there initially, but then a month or so later, when you're wondering why you messed an O-ring up so soon, lube them up, put them in real careful, tighten them up by hand, then torque them. So what we're gonna do now?
Finish lubing up the injectors.
Yeah, and then
Put the injectors in.
we're gonna get this old girl back running. So here's our other brand new part that I mentioned earlier. We're installing because we had the gelling of the fuel, and then we also had the low fuel pressure. And like I said, John is just a fan of, hey, look, let's just go on and do it because we don't know how many miles or how long that one's been on here. And that's like 150 to 200,000 mile give or take thing. A lot of times on these 6.0s it goes out. We're at 290 something on here. John bought it at like 200,000. Don't know how old the other one is, how long it's been on there, nothing like that. So he said, just go on and do a new pump. He said, let's do it right. We're doing new injectors. Let's do a new pump. We're doing standpipes and dummy plugs because we didn't have a torn O-ring or not, but this is the passenger side one, and this is old school right here. So this is the split pipe that has the spring portion down here inside of this that keeps it from the oil from bleeding down. There's your upper portion, so we definitely wanted to replace that one. It does have a newer style. Well, I say it does. It's got the plastic washer there. But anyways, we're gonna do both of them. I feel like it's the right thing to do. All the nipple cups are nice and tight still. I can't wiggle them around at all. There's the old dummy plugs, which these are not the updated ones. They do not have the plastic washer on the bottom like the others do. Tell you what, I'll go over there and I'll show y'all the difference. So here's our new one. You can see it's got the white plastic washer on both ends. Helps prevent that O-ring from blowing. This does not have either. And the other way to tell before you even take these out is this has the square head on it. This newer style is the hex head on it. So that's how you immediately can tell. And I can't tell you the last time I saw one of these. I couldn't believe these were still in there. So when I say this truck is meticulously took care of and not abused, that's a prime example of it's not, because who knows how long that stuff's been in here and it has not been an issue. So Gary's lubing those up. I'm getting ready to get some music going, and we're gonna put this together, and I'll show y'all some highlights, maybe some key points on throwing some injectors in here. Other than that, it's straightforward. Lube everything up, be as clean as you can. I don't know if y'all noticed on the time lapse when I was doing that, taking this apart, before I even unbolted the valve covers, I took my compressed air and I blew all around the edge of that thing, because you don't want to be dropping grit and grime and everything down in this while you're taking it apart, because we all know where that stuff will end up. It'll end up in the oil cooler, end up at the IPR screen eventually, and cause you more problems. So be clean, throw it together, torque your injectors to 26 foot-pounds, torque your high pressure oil rail to 10 foot-pounds, which I'll show y'all that when we do it. But yeah, torque that down in the sequence, torque it right, torque your injectors. I even torqued the valve cover bolts, torque your standpipes and dummy plugs. I'll post all that on the video when we get to there, but it's very important you do all that and do it the right way. So let's get busy. All right, so when you put the injectors in, just start in my hand. You'll see it just pulls the injector down. Nice and easy. Get it snugged up tight as you can with your hand. Then you don't have to go with your torque wrench as much. Don't run these in with an electric ratchet or something. Do it by hand just like this. Other thing to lube up, which Gary did for me, is lube this upper O-ring, because it makes it a lot easier pushing up into the head. I'll show you right here. I'll do this one right quick while we're videoing. I might be able to do it one hand, I don't know. It's not quite on play. There it is. You can hear it. It makes it a lot easier because it kills your fingers if you don't lube it up. That's another thing to blow out too. Before you take this apart, there's always grit and grime around that to keep everything clean down in here. All right, we got all our injectors in. They're all torqued 26 foot-pounds. Now, these back two back here, can't fit my torque wrench in. My inch-pound wrench don't go high enough, so what I usually do is I feel these two by hand, or I feel these two after I've actually torqued them, and then torque those two by hand based on how that feels and get them down to what feels like at least 26 foot-pounds. It's very important to torque those down. We got all our injector plugs pushed up into the head. We put our clips back on the plugs, put them right back on, locked them in. So now we're ready to put our high pressure oil rails back on, install our new dummy plugs and standpipes, and torque all that down. So I'll catch up with y'all when I'm torquing the high pressure oil rail and show y'all the torque and the sequence. All right, we got our rails in on both sides. All the bolts are in. They're just hand snugged up right now at this time. So 10 foot-pounds is what you're going for. Basically, the torque sequences work your way from the inside out, like torquing a head down, but I'll post the picture right here. So follow that sequence. I usually go through the first time. I don't even try to reach the torque. I just get them all evenly snugged up. Then I go back, torque them. I go back, double check them, because it's very important that this is held down correct for your nipple cups and that seal on top of your injector and everything, so you don't have any issues with it. So make sure you follow that. So I'm gonna get busy torquing this. After that, we're gonna torque standpipes, dummy plugs. Got brand new gaskets here for it from Ford, valve cover gaskets. Those will go on. We're gonna clean our valve covers up here, get all that put back together, and then we're gonna get underneath there. We're gonna throw our new HFCM on the frame rail, new filters, and yeah, then we'll be ready to fire this thing up. Now he's also added to the list now. He said, hey, while it's at your shop, while you're doing it, let's go and do the oil cooler. So we're gonna do all this first, and I'm gonna drain the coolant. I'm gonna run VC9 in it. I'm gonna go drive his truck probably tomorrow. Get this flushed really good. His oil cooler is not necessarily completely sopped up, but when he pulls the load, he's getting to that 18, 20 degree mark on his delta, on his difference in his oil and coolant temp. So he wants to go on to a cooler, so we're gonna go back with a Ford OEM cooler. Not gonna do that on the video because I have a video on that already, on doing an oil cooler and flushing and all that. But anyways, that's on the list also. So let me get busy torquing these and we'll catch up with y'all in a minute. Gary's over there changing his diff oil in the back, which it looked great, didn't it?
Yeah.
He's also getting some new shoes on the dually today. We got to go pick them up from our local tire shop buddy, Highway 70 Tire, and maybe we'll show y'all his truck with some new shoes on it. All right, rails are torqued. We got our standpipes and dummy plugs in, snugged up. Now we're going to torque them all to 60 foot-pounds. So I'm going to jump on that real quick, and then it's going to be new gasket and valve cover time, which we got to clean the valve covers up still, Gary.
Oh, yeah.
Let go. All right, we're under the truck. We got our HFCM all disconnected. The only difference for most of y'all is this customer has installed a diesel tank sump, and he got rid of his quick connect. This was just slid on here with the two clamps. Other than that, it's all the same. This is a push fitting that you just squeeze. You can see the inside of it there. Get my hand right. Just squeeze right here. Where's it at? It's on the bottom here on this side. Just squeeze and pull off. This is a 3/8. This is a, what size is it? A 5/16, so you got to use your fuel line disconnects on this and slide under here, and these are pretty fun to undo. This is what it looks like on the inside, what you're trying to undo here. See those metal tangs? So anyways, you undo that, you unplug your 3 electrical connections there. One of them's water and fuel, one of them's the pump power, and I can't think about what the other one is. Anyways, you got 3 13mm bolts out here on the outside. Gary is installing the new filter in the new pump right now, greasing the O-ring and stuff up so that that's done. All I gotta do is tighten the cap up once I put it underneath there. So I'm gonna undo these bolts, pull it off, put the new one on, bolt it up, tighten the filter up, connect all my lines, jump up top. We're gonna put the new filter up top, and then we'll be ready to crank this up and check fuel pressure, make sure we're running good on that. All right, we got our new pump all on. Everything's plugged in. I hit a little bit of brake cleaner, get all this diesel off everything. So now we'll clean my hands up. Well, actually I'm gonna do the upper filter, then I'm gonna clean my hands up, and we're gonna prime this fuel system and start cranking on her. All right, new upper filter's in. We're all together. Gary's in there, Gary hit the key. We're gonna start priming the fuel up. All right, we've been priming our fuel system now, which I know we still got air in it, but I bled some of the air off with the fuel pressure tester here. Gary's gonna crank on it, see if we get it to fire on up this time now. Now that we've got all our air out of the system, I know y'all can't hardly see it because of my messed up gauge here, but we're sitting at like 52, yeah, about 52 pounds, 53 maybe, here at idle. We were sitting at 38 before we did all this. Now we're at 55, sitting here at idle now that we're sitting here working the air out of the system. And Gary got his new shoes on his truck. $400 off Marketplace. E-rated Falcon Wild Peaks MTs, I think is what they are. All right, taking her on a rip. Checked our fuel pressure already when we get on it. We're staying good right there, right around 50 the whole time. This does have the Blue Spring mod, like I mentioned. So give her a rip, Lee. Happy. All right guys, Lee is unhooking our fuel pressure gauge, and I'm going to drive that to Ford in the morning. Once I drain the coolant and throw some VC9 in it, I'm going to drive it there, pick up the parts for it, drive it back, do some more flushing here, and start on this oil cooler tomorrow. But hope y'all enjoyed the video on throwing a set of injectors in this truck, throwing the new fuel pump on the rail there, and basically kind of learning a lesson on gelling fuel does not like 6.0s, or 6.0s don't like gelling fuel rather. Cause a lot of problems. So when you start dipping down into that 15 degree and even colder than that, you need to be adding something to your fuel. I know up north they have winter blend. Down here we don't have that, so people don't think about that a lot of times. This is more of a northern thing, so you guys up north are used to this. Us down here in the south don't usually get weather quite like this to cause this problem. But like I said, I had probably 10 customers call me that following day having symptoms, and about 3 or 4 of them were 6.0 customers. So watch your fuel, put some kind of additive in it, and take care of it. Don't let them filters get stopped up and ruin your injectors, because that low fuel pressure eats them up. So it's Automatic Garage signing out. Y'all go check out our other Power Stroke videos, all our other Ford content we got. We got some other stuff on the channel, including building this cool oil burner back here, which has got the shop nice and toasty right now because we're now dropping down. I think it's about 38 degrees outside. It dropped drastically today. So go check the build out of that if you want to. It's a good, cheap way to heat your shop. Puts off a lot of heat. So Automatic Garage signing out. We'll holler at y'all later. Also, if you're in the West Tennessee area and you're looking for somebody to work on your Ford or your Power Stroke, give us a call. You can check us out at automaticgarage.com. We have our contact and email information on there. We'll be more than glad to help you out. So give us a call if you need some help.